Peaceful protests took over our nation's capital, both in the streets and the halls of Congress. The Attorney General says at least 51 people have been arrested on federal charges as some violent actors have sought to hijack the demonstrations against the police-involved killing of George Floyd. CBS 4's Natalie has more details from Washington.
For 8 minutes and 46 seconds, lawmakers stood in silence or kneeled to honor the memory of George Floyd.
People now understand what the struggle was all about.
Congressman John Lewis and the Congressional Black Caucus are working on police reform laws in the wake of Mr. Floyd's death. The longtime civil rights leader said he has been moved to tears by protesters of all colors taking to the streets.
When I made this sign, I ran out of room.
Nikki Goodwin, one of the many demonstrators gathered near the White House this week, says this moment feels different.
This was it. I don't know why. I don't know why Eric Garner wasn't the one. I don't know why Rodney King wasn't the one. But this was the one.
While the demonstrations to call for change have remained largely peaceful, the administration is defending its move to surge security, saying violent opportunists have infiltrated some of the protests.
There are some groups that don't have a particular ideology other than anarchy. There are some groups that want to bring about a civil war, the Boogaloo group. We are dealing with, as I say, a witch's brew of a lot of different extremist organizations.
The Attorney General says foreign actors may also be inciting passions on all sides. Meanwhile, the Justice Department is conducting its own parallel investigation into the death of George Floyd.
George Floyd's death was not the first of its kind, and it exposes concerns that reach far beyond this particular case.
Attorney General Barr says his department will conduct meetings with community leaders around the country in the coming weeks to ensure George Floyd's death was not in vain. Natalie, CBS News, Washington.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has sent a letter to the White House asking for clarification on the roles of federal troops operating in Washington, D.C. Pentagon sources tell CBS News Defense Secretary Mark Esper made the decision to keep the federal soldiers on hand because larger protests are expected in the nation's capital going into the weekend. Look for much more on the calls for change tonight on the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell. That's at 6:30 after CBS 4 News at 6.